Hello, I'm Joshua Unruh, your superhero scholar. A while back, I recorded some short segments for another comic book podcast on the absolute bonkers nature of comics in the earliest days of superheroes. They're still available on that show, but I thought you, my loyal listeners, might like another crack at them. They're from earlier in my podcasting career, so please forgive any lack of quality, audio or otherwise. Without further delay, welcome to my very irregularly updated new segment, What the F***, Golden Age? Hello, and welcome back to another installment of What the F***, Golden Age? I'm your host, Joshua Unruh. Today we're going to take a look at one of the superhero games of one-hit wonders. Of course, because this is the Golden Age, we're going to have to use the words hit, wonder, and superhero extremely loosely. Nevertheless, I bring you the Atomic Thunderbolt. With a cover date of February 5th, 1946, our titular character appeared in exactly one issue, Atomic Thunderbolt number 1, the only issue that would ever be published. Our hero begins his story in much the same way as Captain America, except the total opposite. Well, maybe not the opposite, more like a twisted reflection. Literally everyone in the entire world has seen Captain America the First Avenger at this point, right? Good. No spoiler warnings needed. Did you feel your heartstrings tugged by a physically weak young man with the heart of a hero? Did you appreciate the scientist that would make his body as powerful as his spirit characterized as almost fatherly? Wasn't it powerful when the scientist died having seen his life's work come to fruition? And were you also nearly brought to tears when that young man did everything within his newfound power to bring the scientist killer to justice? Well, none of that happens here. Do you guys remember that episode of Star Trek, Mirror Mirror? It's like the Atomic Thunderbolt has the evil universe's version of Captain America's origin. Except it refuses to acknowledge that you keep staring at its goatee. Or that it even has a goatee. And look, even if it did have a goatee, what's your preoccupation with facial hair anyway, you pervo? Isn't that your problem? Here's what I mean. Rather than a well-meaning kid who wants to join the army, we have Willie the Wharf Rat, an ex-merchant marine suffering from shell shock after a Nazi torpedo exploded near his boat. For those of you who aren't aware, shell shock is a code word used by the greatest generation to mean too scared to fight, or more simply, coward. Today we call shell shock post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's a code word for this person deserves our understanding, compassion, and comprehensive mental care. This generational difference is illustrated by a bunch of kids who use an inflated paper sack to scare Willie into reliving the trauma of almost explosively dying at sea. We, the reader, are meant to laugh and laugh. This isn't really that surprising when you consider that the story actually began several pages earlier with a guy who would have been the villain in any sane story, Professor Josiah Roane. Unlike the kindly nurturing scientist from the Captain America origin, Roane is introduced at the moment of his decision to commit murder. Possibly several murders. He literally describes it as a nice night for murder. You see, he can't move forward with creating a new race of atomic supermen without a human test subject. And if he can't get one by ethical means, he will go out and grab one any way he can. Except he's also basically 100% sure that the process will kill the subject. If, like me, you're already asking, what the actual Golden Age, then just know that Professor Roane is also the kind of guy who will send highly radioactive material through the US Postal Service with no lead lining or warnings of any kind. So in addition to being evil, he is also an asshole. Roane is convinced that the only way to end war is to make everyone super strong and totally invulnerable, because then how would we fight, duh? Or at least that's the load of bullshit he feeds Willie the Wharf Rat while convincing him that a shell-shock guy no longer has anything to contribute to the human race, other than furthering extremely dubious scientific ends by being irradiated until agonizing death. The only justice in this entire story comes when Roane, who is in mid-experimental irradiation of Willie, flips the wrong lever in his death trap of a lab and blows himself straight to the 9th level of hell. It isn't entirely clear if this X-Factor causes his experiment to succeed, or if he just ironically died at the culmination of his life's work. Or perhaps double ironically, he died when his crackpot experiment succeeded, thus keeping him from fulfilling his actual life's work of spending the War Department's money on murdering hobos with radiation. Willie wakes up realizing he's super strong, indestructible, can fly, and is able to create airwaves, which are basically the same kind of magic as Stardust the Super Wizard's various rays, only without the hassle of coming up with clever new names for it every time. He uses his newfound powers to catch the fifth columnists who were trying to steal Roan's work. Wait, did I forget to mention those guys? That's how uninteresting they are. They basically fill the role of the Nazi saboteur in Cap's origin without any of the inherent menace or intrigue associated with a guy who has a Hydra sub just chilling in the Hudson. And that's where the Atomic Thunderbolt is left, mentally ill and the most powerful being on Earth, able to make his every desire a grim reality. What the f*** could go wrong, huh, Golden Age? Special thanks to Jeff Williams for suggesting the Atomic Thunderbolt. The rest of you can hit me up on Twitter with questions, comments, or suggestions at Joshua Unruh. Hashtag it WTFGA so everybody can play. Until next time, keep asking, what the f***, Golden Age? WTF Golden Age is a Pulp Diction Productions program and is 100% supported by listeners like you. To find out how you can keep this and our other shows in production, check out patreon.com/pulpdictionproductions. And if you can't support us financially, please leave the show a rating and review on iTunes. It's the best way to help others discover the show and join the conversation. Keep up with everything we're doing at www.pulpdiction.biz or find us at www.facebook.com/pulpdictionproductions.